You can call me stupid. Listen, you can call me sheep. You can say I'm lazy. You can say I'm weak. You're in trouble, deep.
WNBA Swish. I am joined by our special guest, Analyss Benally. When did you first fall in love with basketball?
Well, my first memories are when I was about 4 to 5. And I would say ever since then, because my dad actually told me a story that, like, I think 2 weeks after I was born, I was already in the gym because he had a tournament to go to. So I was kind of sitting in there with my sister and some of my cousins, and he was just out there playing. And they told me this like a few years ago. So my mom was like, "What? You took her to the gym already?" And he said, "Yeah, like that's what we do all the time." So ever since I was little, yeah.
Is that kind of been your singular focus?
Yeah, for sure. I did try out soccer when I was a little younger, and then we knew really right away that I was not a dual sport girl. So we said, okay, we'll just focus on the one.
Basketball influence-wise, who was your biggest basketball influence, both normally off the court and pro-wise, if any?
The person that I feel like I tried to mimic the most is probably Reggie Miller. I watched a lot of film with my dad on Reggie just because we knew I was undersized. I'm not as tall as my position should be. So just learning how to move around the screens, be quick release. So Reggie Miller.
Not bad. Did you have a basketball influence outside of pro? Maybe your dad or somebody?
Yeah, my sister and my dad. Like my dad was playing every single weekend. My sister was too. My sister went and played NAIA ball at Kansas Wesleyan. That's why we moved to Wichita, Kansas when I was 12. But seeing her do it, I was just like, oh yeah, this is, in my mind, it was like, oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I never doubted it once, and my family never told me I wasn't going to go do it. So ever since I was younger, I just had the mindset that I was going to go play basketball.
Nice. Well, you said Wichita, Kansas, and then you're from Shiprock, New Mexico originally?
Yes.
What made you choose San Jose?
San Jose. So the biggest thing with San Jose and me was that they really, they're very persistent, and they formed that family relationship with me and comfortability when I was a junior to senior. And I just knew I wanted to go there. I knew I had to feel comfortable knowing I was going to leave home that far by myself. So all we had to do was just look at the campus. So when they said, oh, we'll fly you out and make sure you have a look at it, my mom was like, okay, we just need to see the campus. And then my dad was like, okay, we just got to see how the offense is run and what they do in defense. So my dad was very basketball side of it. My mom was very school and environment side of it. So the three of us went. And once I saw the campus, I was like, oh yeah, I want to come here. So I committed the morning of my flight, and then I signed the very first day I could my senior year.
Did you see any other schools?
New Mexico, the Lobos were interested in me, and I was familiar with it. But ultimately, Coach Yvonne Sanchez was the head coach at the time, and her and I had a meeting, and then ultimately she decided that I just wasn't the fit at that time. So she let me know that, and I said, okay. I didn't necessarily want to go to the Lobos, but it was my home state. I knew the Lobos, and I was like, oh, that'd be so great to have an offer from there. But then I ended up playing against them in the Mountain West, so that was really cool. I still was able to play in the pit every year.
Well, with colleges, the funny thing I've learned is sometimes a player it's just a workplace, basically. Sometimes it's very impactful in their kind of development. So, like, did San Jose influence your life and development as a player? Is it an important part of you almost culturally, or was it just somewhere you went to work?
I think it influenced me a lot in my personal life and my growth as a person. It was very diverse, which I wasn't expecting, but I loved moving from Shiprock to Farmington and then Farmington to Kansas, it was a culture shock for me. And I was able to adapt to that situation. And then when I went to San Jose, there were just so many more people and just communities that I wasn't really aware of, and just to educate myself. And I think it was a really good move for me. And then basketball wise, the way that my coach had it set up, it really taught me a lot about discipline and time management. That's probably one of the biggest things I got out of it, because I went from just going to school and just having one practice a day to having study hall, meal times, open gym, workouts, class. And then on top of that, I got to figure out study hall hours that I was required to do with homework. And it was a lot, but I think that time management was probably one of the biggest things I got out of it. And just learning how to adapt to people, just because you're just given people, right? So I was given, and you have to make it work, like on the court, off the court. You're normally roomed with them, which I was roomed with one of my teammates. And I think it just really taught me how to adapt to people and adapt to the situation.
Well, where are you playing now? You're overseas?
Right now I'm home in Farmington, New Mexico. So I did just sign a couple of days ago to play in Kosovo. And so I'll be leaving for Kosovo early September.
Beautiful country. It doesn't get the region, even it doesn't get the credit, I think, that a lot of other places do. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm sure I will. Last year I played in Albania, and there was a dual league that they do, the Liga Unite. So I did go to Kosovo a few times to play the Kosovan teams. And then one of those teams asked me to come and play. So I decided, yeah, why not?
Not bad. And I heard you recently had some interesting, you were on a documentary, Rez Ball documentary, and you also did the Champions of Change All-Star Celebrity Game too. What were those like?
So when I first came home, I had discussed being involved in the Rez Ball movie. It's taking place in Shiprock, New Mexico, the Shiprock Chieftain. So that was really exciting for me. And we had talked about me being involved in a bigger part of it, but due to my season, I wasn't going to be home until after the required days I needed to film. And then the second I got home, I emailed them because we knew that they were still filming for a little while. And I was like, can I just be in it? Can I just be an extra? Like, I just want to be like somewhere in there. Like, is it possible for me to be a part of it still? And they said, yeah, so just come down. So about a week after I came home from Albania, they had me shooting for about a week, the last week of filming. And I'm in there and I was just excited. I'm on the court. And also, I do have some speaking lines, which I wasn't expecting. So I was more involved than I originally thought I was going to be, but it was a really cool experience. It's the first time I had ever done something like that. All the cameras and the mics and the meetings, and the film days were so long, and I'm doing like the same thing like 100 times, just over and over and over and over. And I just thought, wow, I can't imagine this full time, but it was a really cool experience.
Well, you know, you're a pro hooper, but as you mentioned, also you're Navajo.
Yes.
Has that created any added pressure for you, or has it helped kind of motivate you?
I wouldn't necessarily say I feel pressure. I just think it's very person to person, not necessarily the community or where you come from that should determine how your fate goes. But I think it's a blessing. And as long as I can just come home and share whatever I'm learning overseas or what I learned in college from the basics, then I mean, everyone's pretty much winning.
Of excitement, you know, from your community over your career? Do you feel just a lot of empowerment from them back home?
I do feel I feel a lot of people have noticed. I wasn't expecting it, honestly, but my parents, they grew up in Farmington. They grew up around the Shiprock area. So a lot of people know my parents, and they know my sister from playing. And so whenever we see people, it's just, it still surprises me a little bit. They're like, oh, you're playing in Europe and we're so proud of you. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. So it's just a little thing like that.
Well, they know your sister too, you said, but let's be real, just between us, you beat your sister on one all the time, right?
We don't play anymore. We really don't. I don't think My sister and I have played in a few summers, but of course, I'm gonna beat my sister.
You know it. You're number one.
She
Go
was
ahead.
more of the muscle player, and I'm the one that has to try to figure my way around her. So we have very different styles, but we don't play anymore.
Being Navajo, I imagine it's an important part of you. Is there anything about Native Americans, indigenous folks that you think there's a big misconception about and should be cleared up?
I think a misconception is just that I feel like people might find us lazy or often just like away. Like we shy from like a light, or that we just don't really put our all into being seen. But I just think that a part of us, we do have to take that into our own hands. And with a lot of things like the films and other organizations and nonprofits like Rise Above that help spread the word and the awareness through bigger media. But I think that a lot of misconception is just that we don't want to be seen.
You said Rise Above. What is that? A charity?
It is a nonprofit organization, Indigenous. It's owned. The co-founders are Jackie McCormick and Brad Myers. So I'm currently partnered with them. And the nonprofit, we just bring awareness to Indigenous youth. And we do that. One way that we do that and bring all the kids together and the ability to be active is we host sports clinics. So whenever I can, or whenever Rise Above brings me up north to the Seattle and Idaho area and those in the reservations out there, we host free basketball clinics, and we just allow the kids to come out, and I speak to them, Jackie speaks to them, and then other former players, they come and speak, and we just try to get them aware and physical and active.
Well, what's next for you going forward? What's your next step?
Right now, just very much day to day. I do have a few little minor injuries that I need to get a hold of, but other than that, just working out, working with Rise Above. And since I'm signed with Kosovo, it's like a little bit of pressure off of me to just know that I am going somewhere and I have 2 months to prepare. And I am familiar with the language and the league already. So it's nice to know that I don't have to fully transition and adapt to that situation, but it's something different and I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. And, let's stay in touch. We'll help promote anything we can with your career. And, just thank you for being an inspiration to girls and to folks from indigenous communities.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.